Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Luker, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. We'll move on to the consent agenda, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda?
Pull number 5, please.
We'll pull number 5, so we do need a motion to approve 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by member Onstead. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 5 reads to consider Swenson's Lawn Care for the 2025-2027 lawn mowing contract. And member Yeager has some questions.
Yeah, that's like a 37% increase in Swenson's fees per, why?
Because it's 2024 and it's not the ongoing contract. That was a very, very cheap contract. If you remember our contracts back the last time they did, the next lowest bid was $75,000.
Yeah, I know, I have it right here.
Yeah, understood. So essentially with the inflation that you've seen in the world in regards to the costs that these mowers are seeing, if you see our low bid being the $53,000 a year, our highest bid was $105,000. So, you know, if we're not interested in continuing to contract it out, we can always look at bringing that in-house and hiring employees and buying the equipment to do so. if
Well, I
that's
just
something
didn't
we'd
know-
be interested in.
I didn't know if we were giving them more duties to perform to justify such an increase, or,
No, and the RFP went out, it went on the League of Minnesota Cities website.
Yeah.
I know our Public Works Department contracted as many operators as they could to get interest, but it is essentially the same contract that it was the last time. The RFP that the council approved essentially was the same amount of parks, the same amount of facilities, the same amount of lift stations, same amount of areas. It's just a matter of the contract in regards to the, unfortunately, I think just increased costs that they're probably seeing in regards to paying their employees, the cost in fuel, the equipment. The previous contract, I will say, was incredibly low, we felt, so I think there was probably something to that where there was probably a little bit of a catch-up based on that previous contract we felt was very, very much so on the low side. So I know that has now, the lawn care service, I believe, has switched hands from I believe one of the family members to another family member who is running it now, so that can be part of how they go through their bottom line.
was the previous contract, so the previous contract was from what, 2020, 2022, 3 and 4?
Correct.
Was the contract before that Swenson's?
I believe so. I'd have to look back at it. I believe I'd have to look. If it was not, I think it was M&H before that, if not Swenson's, but I believe it was.
Because I wonder if Swenson's came in really low to get the contract and then,
I know our former public works superintendent, in regards to how the low cost of that contract, often wondered what, you know, not that I don't think none of us are lawn mowing experts, but felt it was so very low that more it was maybe just a reason to get it. Sometimes I know companies during certain times will grab contracts, maybe they're not making a ton of money on it, but it more or less, maybe there's other advantages to it, that they have other contracts, so they fill in work with certain things.
okay.
Yeah, but I know it has definitively increased, but like I said, we did our best to try to get as many interested parties as we could. In regards to this, like I said, we put it out on the League of Minnesota City site, and actually individually both our public works superintendent and assistant, I know, contacted multiple companies that do this, and especially that do it within either the public sector or, you know, facility work like this, and these were the 5 that we did receive, and a pretty big variance in them, as you can see, all the way from, you know, $105,000 a year to $127,000 a year to the low on the Swenson's Lawn Care of $53,000. We did anticipate that this was going to probably have a significant increase, where staff did budget $65,000 originally for this. We were able to remove that from the budget that you saw previously tonight, but we were anticipating some pretty significant costs, unfortunately, on this going up.
Okay.
Mr. Linwood, how many parks do we have?
17.
And they all need to be serviced?
Most of them do, yes. There's areas that they have, maybe some more significant than others, but yes.
Okay. If, I've read other cities are trying to bring it in-house. If we brought it in-house, what is the cost of that? What would we have to do to bring it in-house?
We used to do that. It used to be done in-house. We had, I think, an individual employee, an FTE, that was dedicated to just essentially mowing, and then we had seasonals that were doing a lot of, I think, the hand mowing and weed whipping, things like that. And then you also have to buy the equipment, which the equipment's very expensive in regards to how many you need, in regards to the type of equipment that's commercial grade that can handle those large areas, and with the amount of times that you're going to be utilizing it. So I haven't actually done that, but I think it would be significantly more than what you're seeing here within the contracted services to go ahead and do that. Obviously, you have more upfront costs because you need to buy the equipment, but then you need to find the people to run it. Unfortunately, a lot of cities they can supplement their lawn care with seasonals, but you have months where maybe you have early springs where you have April and you have September and October when a lot of these kids are back in school, so you usually end up hiring FTEs to do that, whether it's a parks FTE. And I think that's what the city did back then, is they had an employee that was kind of dedicated to parks that just did mowing.
And has our city experienced a hard time hiring seasonal employees?
Lately it's been better. Previously we've had a hard time with some of the last couple of years it has been better, but previous to that we did go through one summer where we didn't have any seasonal employees. So I think that's one thing that we would worry about as part of this. We utilize them right now for things like pothole patching and trash dumping within our parks during that summer months, but this would be another component where maybe you look at hiring more as well, just to keep doing what they're doing or adding to that. So I think we'd have to do a pretty in-depth analysis, but I would, especially on the front end, you're looking at probably a higher cost. Just like I said, the equipment costs are significant, and then what you would need actually for the hourly to do that analysis. But the contractual back then, that was quite some time ago. I think it was, the analysis showed that the contractual was money saving for the city, but really we would have to go through that to see if there's any kind of short-term and long-term benefit if we were to bring that back in.
But basically, it kind of sounds like we would probably find it way more expensive to bring it in-house than what it would be, plus maintenance and all that kind of stuff.
I think in the beginning, especially because you need to buy the equipment, obviously. Long-term, you might be able to have that, and then obviously you have to upkeep the equipment, and then, it does have a useful life cycle, so you'd have to repurchase again.
Yeah.
But I would think right now that this is a much more economic selection than looking at that. That's something we really haven't entertained. If we do down the line, we'd have to do the analysis to really show that it made sense, I think, to do so, and that maybe we were having a savings or more control over it, or felt that we were getting better services to do so. Yeah,
and I think our parks have been more and more busy over the years, so we need to have that done. So, okay. So we will need a motion to approve the Swenson Lawn Care for the 2025-2027 lawn mowing contract. Member Yeager, do you want to make that first since you pulled it?
But since you're so passionate about it.
No, you go ahead. You pulled it. So
I pulled it, yeah. I'm not comfortable making the motion.
I'll make the motion, so moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So you opposed it, but you,
No,
okay.
no,
Or you didn't oppose it?
I said I wasn't comfortable with it.
Oh, but you said yes.
I did, yes, I voted yes. I just
Okay. Just making sure it was.
wasn't comfortable making the motion, that's all.
I was just making sure I heard correctly. All right, let's move on to 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, which is receipts of reports of officers, boards, commissions, and department heads. Does anybody wish to pull report?
Can I ask a question about the public safety
Of course.
report? Chief Bauer, you noted that October was a pretty busy month for accidents. What contributed to that?
Calls for service in general, not just accidents, but
Okay.
fire calls, medicals.
Gotcha.
In general, was one of their busier months that they've seen recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we know why?
No,
Okay.
a lot of medicals. That's really, that is one of the biggest cause for calls. That was, and there was also around Halloween, they had they assisted with trees down, a couple accidents. That was a busy day that in itself that did bump up their numbers quite a bit.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
All right, if there are no further questions, we'll move on to number 18, which is the Wyoming tree lighting ceremony. Save the date. Mr. McFarland, are you going to be updating us?
Yeah, that'll be aye. Honorable Mayor, member of council, this communication piece is really an announcement to share with you that the city will be holding its 8th annual tree lighting ceremony on Saturday, December 7th from 4:30 to 6. It will be held once again at the Railroad Park. I can share that we've been talking to a few individuals and organizations that'll be present there, and so the report notes that Dance Factory, Sunrise Apple Farm, and Chisago County Anonymous Santa will be there. Since this report went out, we've also confirmed that the Clogging Group will once again be present. The Lions Club as well will have a tent there. And then finally, as noted here, there's a rumored special appearance from Santa as well, so that'll get people hopefully really jazzed up.
I'm glad he can fit us into his schedule.
A lot of negotiation.
That's great. Do we know if we're doing Santa driving around the same day?
Well, we wouldn't be doing that.
Well, we
I
would,
mean, that would
Santa,
be-
well, I know, the fire department would, because they love to,
They assist.
yeah, they assist.
If anyone's
too.
interested in wearing a costume to fill in, let me know. We can.
That's
a body
type.
No?
Okay, so,
Vegan Santa.
I have to say, it's kind of exciting that it's the 8th year and we have our new park, right? It's gonna be absolutely beautiful out there in our new park, so very excited to have that. All right, we'll move on to number 19, if there are no other questions. The Scout Project Update, Troop 57731, the Little Library.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, members of council, this is just an update on that previous Scout project application that you all approved at your meeting in September with Troop 57731. They're putting in that little library in Ashton Park. They were out at Ashton Park on October 23rd to complete that project, and that library has been installed now and operational for a little over 2 weeks, or about 2 weeks here. There's pictures included as well that show the little library and then the 4 individuals from that troop that helped build it. So I think it looks great. Just want to share that that is a new amenity in the community.
How many little libraries do we have now? Do you know?
To my knowledge, since I've been here, 3, unless there were other ones added before that too, but there are 3, and all from Scout projects as well,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty
It's
great.
a great project.
But you're not counting all the other little libraries that are popping up on people's yards.
Yep, I've seen a few when I go out for walks before it was winter here, so I can say I at least know of one more that's located just a few streets over there. But yeah, we have one at, I think, Lions Park, Goodview Park, then Ashton Park, and I don't know the street name over there that I walk to.
Well, there's one over there, there is one on Goodview, there is one actually by, before the trail that I take to go by your house.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots.
No, I think that's awesome too, yeah.
Perfect. All right, if there are no other questions, we'll move.
Just one question.
Yeah.
Are we getting a lot of books from, because I know you have a big interest in that? And-
Well, I happen to have a lot of leftover books. Nobody's asked for any of them, but when I walked by the libraries, when I was going door knocking, they all seemed pretty full. I mean, this, if you see by the picture, this one's pretty full.
So that might be a good place to call for books if they need them or see something, would you say?
Yeah, well, yeah, you could give me a call and we could see what we can work out.
Okay.
All right, moving on to number 20. New business, to consider ordinance number 202401, an ordinance amending the City of Wyoming Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Businesses, creating Article, is that 7?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Establishing regulations for cannabis businesses and amending Chapter 40, Article 4, definitions of terms, Article 6, Division 2, and 9 through 13, amending zoning district allowed uses for licensed cannabis businesses. That's a lot of words and a lot of Roman numbers. Thank you. All right, Mr. Weck.
Madam Mayor and council members, the ordinance, as you just said, kind of covers 2 parts of the city code, chapter 12, which is our business ordinance, and then also chapter 40, which is zoning ordinance. I gave you a lot of paper. I'm going to go through all the paper. I did give a synopsis in my memorandum. I think it might be just best to ask for questions if you have any questions about what you didn't do. We can go from there.
All right, we'll start with council, so let's start with Member Onstad,
No questions.
Member Schilling,
I have no questions.
Member Yeager.
Okay, so is this ordinance designed to be more like on the par with a liquor store or a gas station selling tobacco, or the adult entertainment that we passed years ago with buffer zones and whatnot? Or is it like a hybrid between both, or?
I think you can make an argument it's similar to any of those types. I mean, it's an ordinance identifying certain areas and usages for cannabis or the sale of cannabis within the city, similar to a liquor store or potentially districts in the sense of adult use, how it's only allowed in certain areas and has to be certain distances from schools. So I think you could make argument that, yeah, very similar to those types of ordinances. I know Mr. Weck, you know.
But just based on the statutes that were recently passed with
Yeah.
this legislature for what we can and can't do.
Well, because I saw in the planning commission minutes, liquor stores don't have buffer zones. Or like where we sell tobacco, it doesn't have buffer zones. This has buffer zones, and it was my experience that it was the adult entertain, when we did the adult entertainment ordinance, that had similar buffer zones. So I didn't know how you were designing this.
Well,
It was-
I think that one, I think that's up to the community to decide, you know, and how you view the use of cannabis. If you look at it the same as drinking beer and liquor, then it should maybe be exactly like that license, or those ordinances. But we have the option, the planning commission thought the buffers would be at least a good starting place, and so that's where
Okay.
we're recommending the 500 for the daycares and the other things, and 1,000 feet for the school.
Okay, cool. So it's obviously more restrictive than those for liquor and tobacco.
Yes.
Okay. Do liquor and tobacco also require a new registration fee for when they, like, if they wanted to move to like the strip mall across the street?
They do, they have to redo their license.
Oh, okay, cool. Yes and yes. And then are the proposed fees, are they similar to what we're charging for liquor and tobacco?
We haven't set the fees, we set penalties, but we haven't set the fees yet.
Okay.
We set some maximums and minimums that the state allows us to do, but that would be something that the city council do at the next fee schedule in January.
Right. We would want to update it at that point in time, and we haven't really gone through yet to see, we're one of the, not the first city, but one of the cities, I guess, on the front end of this, and we have some, some different variation within that, so I think that's a continued discussion that we'll have and present that for council when we adopt our fee schedule in the first meeting in
Yeah,
January.
that was something, the planning commission did not discuss fees, just.
Okay, because
just
when I
penalties.
saw the $500 for registration and $1,000 for renewal, that was more just the state maximum, and then we could go from there. Because I just noticed it was a heck of a lot more than what I saw in the fee schedule for liquor, or, excluding a bar,
Right,
or just a tobacco license.
and again, that's based on what the statute said we could do, so.
Yeah.
So that's where those numbers came from.
Okay. And then do we have similar violation fees for liquor and tobacco violations?
I'm not sure about, again, I'm not sure what those violation fees are for if you were to sell tobacco to someone or liquor to someone underage. He's the chief.
It's gonna be misdemeanor, I think, is what we usually
Yeah.
go with.
So the $2,000 that you came up with, that would be similar to like a tobacco
Yeah.
Violation.
non-compliance?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Member Luker?
No questions.
All right, and I have none as well. So we need a motion to approve, I'm not reading it all. A motion to approve ordinance number 2024-01, and ordinance amending the City of Wyoming Code of Ordinances. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Member Luker, and I'll make that second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 21, to consider resolution 2111-107, a resolution approving the summary publication of the adult cannabis ordinance. Mr. Weck?
This is just authorizing me to publish that we've passed that ordinance, and the summary publication is just a brief synopsis of what we're publishing, so we're not publishing 12 pages of it.
Pretty standard.
Pretty standard.
Okay. Any questions from council? Member Schilling?
No questions.
Member Yeager?
No questions.
Member Luker?
No questions.
Member Onstad?
No questions.
And no questions from me. We need a motion to approve resolution 2411-02, 7, a resolution approving the summary publication of the adult cannabis ordinance. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by member Luker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So approved. Number 22, to consider the hiring of Lucas Harvey in the building inspector position. Mr. Weck, it's kind of your meeting tonight.
It's turned into it, hasn't
Yeah.
it, Madam Mayor? Mr. Lucas Harvey is our candidate to be the next building inspector for the city. He'd be replacing Garrett Hines. He has his building official limited license or certification, and he has been a framer for the past 19 or 20 years. So we're recommending hiring him at the starting salary of $31.18 per hour.
All right, we'll start with questions from council, please. We are going with member Yeager is first.
Will Mr. Harvey be trying to expand his knowledge while he's here? Get other certifications?
Yes, he'll be working on the septic for sure. He'll need to get that. And then other certifications, he would, building official certification, he has to have so much time and experience before he can take that test. So that would be another one.
But he'll be working towards further.
Right.
Okay.
A little bit like the public safety side, I go out and train with him for as long as it takes until I'm comfortable with him going out on his own.
Okay.
Okay, member Luker,
I have no questions.
member Onstad,
No questions.
member Schilling.
No questions.
I have none either, so we need a motion to approve the hiring of Lucas Harvey in the building inspector position. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Wow, we have a motion to approve by member Onstad. We have a second by member Schilling. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So approved. Council reports. Let's start with member Luker.
I've got no reports. Thanks for watching.
Right. And member Onstad.
I attended the work session just prior to this meeting. And
Okay.
other than that, no reports.
All right, sounds good. Member Schilling.
No report. I'm just happy to be back to McQuillan Brothers Plumbing commercials every 5 minutes. So thanks for whoever's watching.
Member Yeager.
Oh, I also attended the work session before the meeting. Otherwise, no reports, and thank you all for watching. I know you guys are out there.
All right, I had a very boring couple of weeks, so I have just the work session. I believe that was it. So with that, we need a motion to approve. Oh, wait, sorry, we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn. We need a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?